reached agreements in their effort to pass the state budget now for the next 2 years. Now, the proposed budget will go to the Parliament's Finance Committee and then on to the Knesset, where the entire Parliament must pass it into law by November 4th to prevent the government from falling. It would be the first state budget to pass in Israel since March of 2018. The impasse over the issue in the last government led to its breakup. Some of the major changes being reported from the overnight talks is an additional 2 billion shekels, some $600 million, to the health ministry, and raising the retirement age from 62 to 65, among other issues. But we're joined now in the studio by Dr. Alex Cohen, economic expert from Tel Aviv University. Thanks for being with us. Somewhat surprising to see that they're announcing agreements after one marathon session here. It feels like a quick arrival at that. But which issue seemingly pressed them more? Was it the finance, the fact that we've had no budget for 2 years, or was it the politics, the fact that this is a potentially existential issue for the new government?
Well, what I find astonishing is the fact that you have a government that's so polarized. You have extreme right, and then you have extreme left, if you wish. But because the government is so flimsy, they did everything to come to an agreement, because they realized that it's enough to have one person disagree and the whole budget would fall and the government would fall, and it would have a devastating impact. So as a result, in spite of the disagreement, they agreed.
Now, there's been so much talk about the budget over the last few years, and the absence of one, as we mentioned, since 2018. But how does it look? How critical of an issue financially for the country right now? How does what they're approving now look to you? It appears good for healthcare. Does it seem like a reasonable budget to move forward with?
Well, the argument is that it cost Israel $6.5 billion not having a budget because there were no cuts. I mean, normally when you're in a crisis, such as we had with the COVID and with the war in Gaza, you need to be very careful where you spend your money. But because we did not have a budget, there were no cuts. And one thing that I like in this budget is the conflict. I mean, my area is polarity, or the conflict, and the value of conflict. The fact that you see that there's disagreement between the Minister of Health and the Ministers of Agriculture and other things. I like this.
Now, Finance Minister Lieberman, Avigdor Lieberman here, had proposed a list of reforms and was seemingly pushing the boundaries of things, looking to make a lot of change. Did he achieve them as far as you can tell? And I guess on the bottom line here is, what improvements or changes will the average Israeli feel in their day-to-day life?
Well, most of it is not improvement, right. In fact. Okay. Most of it is basically tightening the belt. Well, Lieberman was very aggressive in the sense that he talked about cutting budgets for religious yeshiva students, etc. And reality gave him a serious slap in the face. So his actual budget is much more moderate. One of the things that hurt Israelis a lot is the high cost of living, such as vegetables, things like that. And they're talking about reducing the taxes to enable imports to compete and cut prices down. So that's some positive action. At the same time, for some reason, they are allowing importers to dictate prices to distributors, which is really, really the wrong thing to do. So it's a mixed package.